Welcome ladies and gentlemen to another Call of Duty Warzone video. In this video we're going to talk about the new AN94 that is just released with Season 5, and we're going to compare it to the CR56 and the AK47. In this video we're going to break down the stats of each individual gun and then compare them to each other to work out which one is actually the best. We'll also go over the general feel of each weapon to see how it controls with the recoil as well. Also, this video will give you the best class setup for the AN94 so you can use that once you actually unlock the gun. Before we get into the breakdown, we know 13% of you are subscribed to the channel, so that means 13% of you are getting the stats and weapon comparisons before anyone else. If you want to join in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications, that way you can get notified as well. So now let's take a look at the stats for each of the weapons. On the left we have the AN94, in the middle we have the CR56, and on the very right we have the AK47. All of these are very similar weapons and they also look very similar too, and that's why we wanted to compare them all in this video. Now the AN94 is a pretty weird gun. The first two bullets actually fire as a burst, and then after that it goes into fully automatic mode, which is pretty strange for an assault rifle. But this is all taken into consideration when we're making our stats as well, so this is per bullet damage on all of the guns. And also if you switch the AN94 to semi-automatic mode, it actually fires in 2-round bursts. On the AN94, the first couple of rounds do fire faster, and then after it gets into full auto mode, it runs into a rate of fire of 589 rounds, which sits directly between the CR56 and the AK47. Now, also taking into consideration the damage profiles, it does have the lowest damage profile of all of these guns, but like I said, taking into consideration those first two bullets, you are firing 2 shots off a lot quicker than both of the other two guns. Even considering all of this, it still leaves the Warzone time to kill higher on the AN94 than the other two weapons, so at this point you'd still prefer to use a CR56 or the AK47. It also has more damage drop-off points than the other two weapons. It drops off between 0 and 24 meters, 24 and 40 meters, 40 and 45 meters, and then 45 plus meters, and that's if you've got the longest barrels plus the monolithic suppressor on the attachments. In the case of the CR56, it actually stretches further in distance at 67 meters with less damage drop-off points, and the AK47 has the same damage drop-off distance but has less points of drop-off. The aim down sight time on the AN94 is very competitive as it's the lowest out of the bunch, and the reload time sits in between the CR56 and the AK47, so that's not too bad either. So inside multiplayer, this gun does not look impressive at all. There is guns out there that are slightly better and perform a lot better, especially at close range. I think this gun is made more for medium range combat, but also I do think this can be very useful for Warzone, especially when we take a look at the recoil patterns. Before we take a look at the recoil patterns, this is the class setup that we used with the attachments. We got the mono suppressor, the factory barrel, the commando foregrip, the 60 round mags, and the hollow sight. I believe this is the best class setup for Warzone on the AN94. And then to compare it, we use the longest barrel attachments for the CR56 and the AK47 with these following class setups. We understand that these may not be the best class setups for each of these guns, but to make it a fair comparison, we had to use the longest barrel attachments with the monolithic suppressor to try and reduce the recoil as much as we possibly can on all of the guns. So please keep that in mind. Now that's out the way, we could take a look at the recoil patterns. So the recoil patterns from left to right, we have the recoil with no attachments, recoil with the attachments, then recoil with the attachments but me trying to control it as best as I can, because most people do try and control their recoil so they can get the best possible accuracy. Starting off with no attachments, the AN94 in pink has the worst recoil pattern out of all three of the guns. It almost looks unusable since it's got so much horizontal bounce, whereas the other two guns seem to be pretty okay, and that's even compared to the AK47, which has a terrible recoil pattern as well. After we put on the previous attachments, we then get the image in the middle, which makes it much more bearable to use the AN94 as well as the CR56 along with the AK47 as well. The attachments definitely do really well for all three of these guns here. In my opinion, I think the AN94 is going to be a great gun for Warzone, especially when you look at me trying to control this. Now, I'm not the best at controlling recoil, but the AN94 is such an easy gun to control, especially compared to the other two guns. This could make the AN94 an absolute laser beam inside Warzone, but we'll just need to wait and see. With the correct attachments, the AN94 has a really good recoil pattern that's easy to control, and it also has a higher damage profile than some of the other guns that have a really good recoil pattern, such as the Kilo and the Grau, so it could be an amazing gun at long range inside Warzone. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like as it helps us get recommended out to more people, and we've actually been growing a lot recently since we started back with all these Call of Duty videos, so thank you so much for that. And also don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new so you can keep up to date with everything regarding Season 5 and all the new weapons. That's all for today's video, and thank you very much for watching.